Today, a story is unfolding that could touch the lives of millions of Canadians, quietly, unexpectedly, and perhaps more powerfully than any budget speech or policy announcement in recent memory. Word has spread that an unusual move is being made by the federal government. Extra deposits are reportedly appearing in seniors' bank accounts through the Canada Pension Plan and Old Age Security programs. For some, it feels like long overdue relief. For others, it raises more questions than answers. To understand the weight of this moment, you first have to step into the daily lives of retirees across the country. For years, many have stretched every dollar of their CPP and OAS benefits, carefully balancing rent, groceries, utilities, and medicine. A typical pensioner might receive $1,200 to $1,300 a month through CPP, perhaps another $700 from OAS, numbers that, on paper, sound steady but in reality are far from enough when the cost of living has climbed faster than expected. In many cities, a modest apartment now swallows over $1,500 each month, leaving seniors to choose between paying rent or filling prescriptions. It is against this backdrop of quiet struggle that news of extra deposits is hitting like a lightning bolt. Reports suggest amounts ranging anywhere from $250 to as high as $600 appearing in accounts marked under federal pension transfers. The government has not issued a sweeping public statement, but documents circulating among financial institutions and local Service Canada offices confirm that supplemental disbursements have been authorized to roll out nationwide. The official reasoning, at least from insiders, is that inflationary pressure on essentials, housing, heating, and groceries, has created an emergency requiring immediate support. For a retiree in Winnipeg, that extra $400 could mean the difference between filling the fridge for the month or skipping meals. For a widow in Halifax, it may mean keeping the heat running without sacrificing her blood pressure medication. And for grandparents in Vancouver, it may simply mean being able to buy a birthday gift for a grandchild without guilt. Still, even as seniors feel this relief, the move is sparking intense debate. Supporters argue it is not only justified but long overdue. They point out that in the last 5 years, Canada's seniors have faced some of the sharpest price increases in modern history. Groceries alone have risen by more than 20%, rents by 30%, and utilities by double digits. It's about dignity, one pension advocacy group declared. When a senior who worked 40 years can't afford eggs, milk, or heating, the system has already failed. Critics, however, see a different story. Some economists warn that unannounced boosts to CPP and OAS risk ballooning federal expenditures and destabilizing pension sustainability in the long run. They argue that the sudden injections may be politically motivated, an effort to ease unrest among retirees while avoiding deeper reforms. Others suggest it could even fuel inflation further, the very problem it is meant to solve. Behind the curtain, pressure has been mounting for months. Letters from seniors' associations have flooded Ottawa, demanding urgent action. Public polls have shown rising frustration among older Canadians, many of whom felt invisible in broader government agendas. The tipping point, some insiders say, came after private meetings where officials were shown stark numbers. More than 40% of seniors now report difficulty covering basic expenses, and nearly 1 in 4 are skipping meals to stretch their pensions. What's unfolding now is not just a financial decision but an emotional turning point. Across living rooms, community halls, and quiet kitchen tables, seniors are reacting with a mix of relief, confusion, and cautious optimism. A retired steelworker in Hamilton described logging into his bank account expecting the usual OAS deposit, only to see an extra $300 he hadn't counted on. "I thought it was a mistake," he admitted, "but then my neighbor said the same thing happened to her. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe." But in the same breath, there are voices of doubt. A former government auditor warns that nothing in public finance is free. She points out that if supplemental deposits continue, the question of how they will be funded will haunt taxpayers for decades. You can't just drop billions into accounts without long-term planning. Someone, somewhere, will pay the price. The numbers matter here. If even half of Canada's seniors, approximately 3 million people, received an extra $400, the cost would surpass $1.2 billion in a single round of payments. Multiply that over multiple cycles, and the figure climbs into the tens of billions. For context, that is more than the annual budget of several federal departments combined. Yet, for many Canadians, the immediate relief overshadows long-term arithmetic. Families say they've watched their parents and grandparents sacrifice too much already. A caregiver in Alberta explained how her mother, living solely on CPP and OAS, often skipped meals so her grandchildren could eat when they visited. This extra money, even just a few $100s, changes everything. It's not charity, it's survival. Some speculate the deposits may not be a one-time event but part of a trial program to test expanded supports for seniors. Others whisper that it could foreshadow a permanent adjustment to CPP and OAS indexing, though Ottawa remains silent on that point. The ambiguity is leaving Canadians on edge, wondering if this is a fleeting windfall or the beginning of structural reform. The timeline is also shrouded in uncertainty. Financial institutions confirm the extra payments are scheduled to continue rolling out in phases, with varying amounts depending on age, income level, and pension history. Some accounts have already been credited, while others are expected to see deposits in the coming weeks. Officials are reportedly monitoring how recipients use the funds, whether for essentials like food and rent or for discretionary spending. As the dust settles, one thing is clear: this move, however temporary or experimental, has already shifted the conversation about seniors' place in Canada's economic fabric. No longer an afterthought, retirees are suddenly at the center of a national debate about fairness, sustainability, and dignity. For decades, they carried the country forward, working in factories, offices, and fields, and now, in their later years, they are demanding recognition not in words but in action. And so, this moment stands as both a promise and a question: will the government build on it, making support for seniors a permanent priority, or will it retreat, citing costs and constraints? In the days ahead, the answer will shape not only pension policy but the very way Canada treats those who spent their lives building the nation. For now, what retirees feel is simple: relief. Relief that someone noticed, that someone acted, that in a time of struggle, a gesture of dignity found its way into their bank accounts. And for the rest of Canada, this quiet shock may be remembered not for its dollar amount, but for what it represented: a rare moment where government decisions touched the most ordinary and important corners of everyday life.